Welcome to the deep dive. We're here again sifting through all that AI news noise to find what really matters for you.
Yeah, there's always so much happening.
Exactly. So today we're focusing on the AI Daily News Digest from May 9th, 2025.
Right.
It really gives a good snapshot of the breadth of things moving right now, new models, big picture ideas from CEOs, all that stuff.
Absolutely. It's a good mix. Shows the energy in the space. Like you said, model capabilities, company strategies, even AI writing its own code, apparently.
Let's jump right in. First up, NVIDIA. They've open sourced their open code reasoning models.
Oh, yeah, the 32 billion, 14 billion, and 7 billion parameter ones.
That's them. And importantly, they're under the Apache 2.0 license.
Which is pretty permissive, right? Makes them really usable for almost anyone.
Totally. Commercial use, research, whatever. Big deal for accessibility.
And the performance. They're
Mhm.
saying it beats O3 Mini and O1 Low on Live Code Bench.
Yeah, that suggests a real tangible improvement in AI actually understanding and,
Yeah.
generating useful code.
It's not just hype then. And they mentioned efficiency, too.
Right, 30% more token efficient. They're crediting their OCR data set for that.
So
Oh, really?
less compute for the same result, basically.
Yeah.
Or more code processed for the same cost. That's always good.
Definitely. And they made sure it works with the tools people already use, llama.cpp, transformers, VLLM.
Smart move. Lowers the barrier to entry. If
Yeah.
it plugs into existing workflows, people will actually try it out much faster.
Exactly. Okay, so shifting over to Mistral now, their Medium 3 model.
Yes. Some independent evaluations are coming out on that one.
And it seems like it's performing really well, stacking up favorably against Llama 4 Maverick, Gemini 2.0 Flash, even Claude 3.7 Sonnet.
Particularly in coding and math reasoning, wasn't it? They mentioned substantial gains there.
Yeah, those specific areas, things where, that reasoning ability really counts for practical use cases.
Suggests they're really targeting those high-value capabilities.
And the price is interesting, too. 0.4 per $1 million input, 2 per $1 million output tokens.
Wow, that's significantly cheaper than their large 2 model.
It is. But here's the catch. Well, not a catch, but a change. Mistral isn't open source anymore for this one.
Right. That's a definite shift in their strategy. Less visibility for the community.
And they're not saying how big the model actually is, parameter-wise.
So, more accessible price-wise, but less open. Interesting trade-off. They did compare it to Claude Sonnet 3.7, though.
They did. Said it's at or above 90% on benchmarks, but cheaper. Really highlights the competition, doesn't it? Different paths being taken.
For sure. Okay, what about the bigger picture stuff? Satya Nadella.
Yeah, Microsoft's CEO, he's been talking about moving into an agent era.
The agent era. What does that actually mean, according to him?
Well, he suggested that traditional apps like even Excel might eventually collapse.
Collapse. That's a strong word.
Isn't it? The idea seems to be that AI agents will just take over these tasks. We won't need to open the apps directly.
So instead of me messing with pivot tables, an agent just gets the insights I need.
That seems to be the vision, yeah. It implies a pretty fundamental change in how we interact with software.
It certainly does. And, potentially a huge disruption for software jobs as we know them.
Definitely raises those questions, though it's worth noting some technical folks are a bit skeptical.
About how practical it is, or how soon.
Yeah, exactly. The whole Excel collapsing idea still feels a bit far-fetched, maybe, or at least not imminent for many commentators.
Understandable. That's a
Right.
bold claim. Related to that future gazing, Demis Hassabis from Google DeepMind was talking to students.
He was. His main message was about the sheer speed of change AI is driving.
And the need for constant learning, right? Lifelong reskilling.
Yep, that was the core takeaway. Adapt or get left behind, basically.
Makes sense. The pace is incredible. How did people react online?
Well, a lot of the comments picked up on that reskilling theme. Some jokes about degrees becoming obsolete the day you get them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can imagine.
But also, some more serious concerns were raised. Like, what happens when a few big companies control really powerful AGI?
The concentration of power argument. And the potential impact on the job market.
Exactly. Some compared the potential disruption to being even bigger than the internet era.
Which is saying something. It's definitely a valid discussion to have.
Okay, let's switch to a new tool, Anthropic's API. They've added web search.
Oh, interesting. So Claude can now pull in live data from the web.
That's the idea. Lets developers augment Claude's knowledge, keep it up to date, addresses that trained on old data limitation.
That's a big step. Makes it much more useful for real-time applications.
And they're including citations for any info pulled from the web.
Good. Crucial for trust and verification.
Plus, users get control. You can tell it which websites to use or avoid.
Domain filtering. Nice.
Hmm.
And I saw Lamb Index already supports it.
Yep, they jumped on it right away. Shows the demand for this kind of thing.
Definitely. Though, funny side note, some people using Perplexity's sonar model notice something.
What's that?
The API response doesn't seem to show the num-search queries field, even when it looks like it is doing searches.
Huh. So maybe just a difference in how they expose that info in the API. It's still searching, just not reporting it the same way.
Seems like it. Different implementations under the hood.
Okay, now for maybe the most eye-catching claim of the digest.
Go on.
An Anthropic developer said their internal tool, Claude Code, was approximately 80% written by Claude Code itself.
Wow. Okay. 80%, that's significant. AI writing most of its own code.
I know, right? It hints at this potential for AI to become much more autonomous in software development.
Obviously, with humans still directing and reviewing, they mentioned that.
Oh, for sure. Humans are still steering the ship. But still, 80%. Imagine the speed up if AI could handle the bulk of coding for its own tools.
The potential is huge. Faster development cycles, maybe even self-maintaining code bases down the line.
But there's skepticism too, right?
Naturally, some folks are questioning that 80% figure, like how was it measured and how much human tweaking was really needed.
And pointing out that current LLMs still struggle with maintaining, large complex code bases over time. Coherence can be an issue.
So it's a fascinating claim, potentially a glimpse of the future, but maybe needs a bit more scrutiny.
Exactly. Okay, lastly, a couple of quick personnel changes. Big moves.
At OpenAI and Meta.
Yeah. Fidji Simo is joining OpenAI as CEO of Applications. She'll report to Sam Altman.
Okay, so what does that mean for Altman?
Seems like he's going to focus more upstream on the core research, the compute infrastructure, and, importantly, safety.
Makes sense. Splitting the focus as the company grows. One person on applications, one on the core tech and safety.
Seems like it. And over at Metafair.
They've got a new head, Rob Fergus, and they're apparently refocusing more on AGI, advanced machine intelligence.
So doubling down on the really ambitious long-term goal of, AGI.
Yeah, it looks like both OpenAI and Meta are really signaling their continued push towards those fundamental breakthroughs. Leadership changes often reflect those strategic shifts.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the key stuff from the May 9th AI Daily News Digest. Quite a range again.
Definitely. From open source code models and performance benchmarks to these big strategic visions and shifts at the top, it's all happening at once.
It really is. And as you think about all this, maybe consider how these pieces connect.
Yeah, like how more accessible coding models, plus AI that can search the web, plus this idea of AI agents. How does that all fit together?
Exactly. How might it change the way you interact with tech and info down the road? It's certainly something to keep watching.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for diving in with us.